Hot coffee is waiting, he's contemplating moving to a country where the mercury don't drop. Looks forward to summer, why he don't leave, he wonders. He must love this life or he's too dumb to stop. His spurs they're jingling, his toes they're tingling, frosty breath rises like warm chimney smoke. His cabin cows on stormy nights, he's been riding since daylight. Trots for the house, but he'd sure like to load. They call it a country where a cowboy is king, where a peaceful day's ride is easy on your mind. He wonders if he can hold out one more frigid, high, lonesome winter time.
Howdy there, I'm Matt McKinley and we're burning daylight. Alright. Welcome, daylight burners. How the hell are we? You know, this show today is going to be a pretty good one, and this show is brought to you by Loma Livestock, LLC, and just by a grand coinkydink, I happen to have the owner on the other end of the line with me. So, George, how the hell are you?
Man, McKinley, good to be back. Good to be back again. We're having a beautiful day here in western Colorado. I love to hear that name, Loma Livestock, being broadcasted. We're getting excited for our first sale on the 23rd of October here in Loma, Colorado. And then we're looking to have a decent run. We're getting some buyers excited to come over. And so we're anxiously awaiting the day, getting all the paperwork right and everything else.
Well, that's awesome. Well, tell everybody, I've told everybody a little bit about it, but you're kind of very intimately involved, I would say, being the new owner. So let's hear your spiel.
Hey, thanks for giving me the opportunity. Give you old bull sale spiel. But
you betcha.
Hey, I tell you what, we started our bull sale. I'm also part of, like, my family deal. We run a deal called Diamond Peak Cattle Company. We're raising a lot of Angus and Sim Angus bulls and heifers for different genetic programs and for commercial producers around. My dad and us, but really back a while ago, my dad started to sell bulls. It was right here in Loma, and that was when it's called Western Slope Cattlemen. When that happened, we just kind of started anew with that new sale barn. Anyways, fast forward to where we are now. The sale barn went through some turmoil, ownership changes, if you will, and kind of, you know, it was going down a little rough road a little bit. And when we came into it, I just went and asked, and next thing you know, we're taking a hold of the sale barn. I am, as George Raftopoulos. We're still going to have all the bull sales, the Diamond Peak bull sales, the Diamond Peak heifer sales, Leachman will still sell. And then we got the weekly sale going again every Wednesday. So we're going to sell cows at 9 and then singles and doubles after that, and try to sell the big groups at 11. And really, I've been in the cattle kind of environment my whole life, and really more intimately involved in the cattle feeding process the last 10 years of my life, dealing with buying and selling of the cattle and marketing. So it's always been kind of a cool little dream of mine to have a sale barn like this, and a lot of ways give our bull customers a good way to market cattle.
Well, good deal. You know, when I moved out here to Nevada, we, you know, back on the Great Plains, we didn't get a ton of cattle from you know, west of the Rockies. We got some, but not a whole lot. Most of our stuff came from, you know, kind of the beef belt area, eastern Colorado to western Kansas up through Nebraska and Montana and Wyoming some, but mostly kind of east of the Continental Divide is where most of our cattle come from. But when I moved out here to Nevada, as soon as we started getting some native calves during the fall run, a good chunk of them came out of Loma. And so I know that you can really pump some volume through there. And Western Colorado is known for some pretty dang good cattle.
Man, we're excited about it. I think there are the cattle out there, like you said. I think the cattle are getting better and better all the time. There's some dang good bunches of cattle and high mountain cattle, kind of more resilient cattle too. Our conditions a little better over here too. These are cattle that kind of got to work for it. And through the years too, with all the vaccination programs and concentration on genetics, just like everywhere, but this area is no different in how we've really accelerated the quality of the cattle. And I think there's plenty of numbers around here. And it's kind of a little, hey, we go to California, or hey, we'll go to Kansas, kind of in the middle.
Yes, sir. It's a good area to do it. And being where you are, you can capture a lot of that eastern Utah market, southwest Wyoming. I imagine you guys probably get some out of Idaho too, don't you?
That'd be pulling them pretty far, but I think we can get them out of there. We actually got some yearlings that might come out of Idaho on our first sale.
Yeah.
So, the people love it. Just having the sale barn around there, it's a good asset to the community. And if we can run it right too, it's just a good asset to every producer. I mean, technically, cattle are more liquid than gold, especially if you have, I'm not saying worth more than gold, I'm just saying more liquid, especially if you have a sale barn close. You can turn those things to cash the day you drop them off,
Yes, sir. It's pretty handy.
And it's going to be really handy on the Diamond Peak end, just to be able to relate to all these customers, get to talk to them, and really get to see their cattle through. And we're going to be NHTC and all natural, and we'll maybe have a Diamond Peak sired NHTC all natural special on a Saturday, and do some more of that stuff to promote all that,
Yeah. So what's NHTC for all those that are not familiar?
It's a non-hormone treated cattle, usually verified by a third party. It used to be IMI Global, now it's called Where Food Comes From. And so it's just you saying you are not putting hormones in these cattle.
So you're not giving them an implant in their ears, basically.
No implant. Exactly. Thank you. No implant in their ears, pretty much all.
You're relying strictly on the genetics and the feed to get that cow or that steer where they need to be, and you're not that there's anything wrong with the hormone, but that's where the market's headed. People, for whatever reason, they don't like it, and so you're seeing that a lot more, and that's just that is a market-driven deal, and I think that's the way we have to be in the cattle market, which kind of, before we, I guess, lead into that, thanks again for being a sponsor of the show. I appreciate it. I think it's a win-win all the way around. We've picked up a lot of steam here the last week or so, and it's just gonna I think we're just gonna get more and more traffic, and I think it's a win-win on both parties.
Oh, no, man, we really appreciate the opportunity to do it. And it's been cool, and I think you're doing a great thing here, and it's been good to get on and talk about a lot of this stuff and see if it matters to everybody else, too. And it's just kind of cool to just conversate about it.
Yeah. So we've talked several times off air in the last couple weeks and just kind of vented and bitched a little bit. And so I guess leading into this market-driven initiative of NHTC, we have went through kind of a clusterfuck of all clusterfucks on the cattle side of things here the last couple of weeks with this Twitter campaign that the Western Ag Reporter started to try to get Donald Trump's attention to draw attention to the disparities in the market between the packers and the producer side of things, where the packers are making some pretty damn good money right now, and times are pretty tough on the producer side, and so naturally there's a lot of mudslinging back and forth, and I don't want to throw Western Ag Reporter under the bus. I think what they what they were trying to do was a very noble cause, and I jumped into it, head first, because I thought we could get a good discussion going. And, well, I think we were both wrong. Western Ag Reporter, we were wrong. It devolved into a shit show, and it had some pretty high up people just kind of screaming at each other. And the way I described it the other day was it was about like just a bunch of monkeys at the zoo seeing who could throw the biggest piece of shit at each other. And so I guess that leads us into what's your thoughts on this whole Packer collusion, mandatory country of origin labeling, checkoff reform, all of those? That's kind of where the arguments have been centered around. Where's your standpoint on this?
Man, I mean, we're just talking about NHTC, right? That's a market-driven deal. There's nobody that made a big lobbying initiative to make that thing. No, people just came together to be a cool program. Oh, all of a sudden we're getting premiums. Oh, all of a sudden we're getting more volume. Yep. All this stuff that's mandated, quote unquote, under the guise that they want a free market, and it is just, I mean, in a lot of ways, bullshit, for lack of better words to describe it.
Yep.
And, like we get down to like the last point you mentioned, and I'll touch on it last, is the checkoff. But as far as the other stuff, this mandatory identification, all this added stuff is built with the right thought in mind. And we're not demeaning it or belittling it by any means. It's just not what the result is not going to be what's wanted. If people continue to whine and bitch about this, the problem is, look, I get the big bad Packer, right? But we work with the Packer pretty every week on the feedlot end, right? It's a negotiation every week. They're also our partner, no different than the cow-calf guy is and everything else. I would love to see, right now we've brought this market back up to where it was pre-fire, right? We're back to the market levels of where we're at. And so what I would like to see people do is and I'm just a supply and demand guy because I'm simple. Yeah. And as you can look at that supply and demand, you will see that there's heavier supply than there was in 2012, And in 13 and 14, the Packer was losing a lot of money, and actually for a lot of years before that. Especially when it was slaughtered, but the cow-calf guy was making quite a bit per head, right? Yeah, I didn't see a big uproaring about that. I just think sometimes the pendulum swings, and we try to get in its way too much. And if we're really truly believers in a free market, it's kind of what the free market does. And I know farmers go on a different path. There's subsidies, there's all that stuff. And like there was a kid, a smart guy that I went to high school with, commented on on the Facebook post that I made, and said, there's something to be said to have a sustainable food supply, right? And that, I mean, as far as national security. And I get that too. But I just feel like we make it on our own. You know what I mean? You got to make smart business decisions. I mean, that's up to nobody but the person making them.
That's exactly right. And that's the part that kind of bummed me out the most is, you look at these independent producers that RCAF, they've made their name on claiming to represent, and I'm not saying they don't. I'm not saying that at all. But that their big claim is their.
Hold on a second. I'm at the feed yard. I got to talk to these guys just for a second. Hold on, real quick. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
You're all right. So, like I said, I'm not trying to downplay what their claims are. I'm not trying to, say allegedly, but this is their big claim, and that's this is straight out of Bill Bullard's mouth, who I spoke with. Is they represent the independent cattle producer and nothing else. Okay, so when I think of independent cattle producer, a lot of those type of folks have been in business for over 100 years. They are the group of people that helped settle the West. And there was a lot of turmoil in getting this western part of the U.S. settled. There still is. But it took a special type of person, somebody that was just pretty goddamn pig-headed and didn't have a whole lot of quit in them. Yeah. And they were the type of people, they didn't ask for help, but if their neighbor needed some help, they were the first ones to jump in and lend a hand. And now what we've got is all these have just kind of gone the way that politics has gone the last 20, 30 years, where it's just you're so far entrenched in your own camp that you're just missing the forest for the trees. And I think we need to get back to what the Western ranchers have traditionally been all about, and that is being self-sufficient, independent, people of integrity, and kind of we've kind of always been the Tim Tebow of the agriculture industry. We don't know when to quit, and we don't know how to lose. Even if we take it on the chin, we don't know how to lose. And that's what I'd like to see more of, and I didn't see much of that at all. I saw a lot of fight, but I didn't see a whole lot of integrity being thrown around here the last couple of weeks, and it was disappointing, and I know deep down that I didn't see a whole lot of non-industry related people taking part in the conversation, but I know deep down there was there's a good chance that there was 1 million people or more watching in on this whole Twitter war that we had going on, and just walked away with a sour taste in their mouth and shaking their head and saying, these guys are a bunch of fucking idiots. And, I can't argue with them too much.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, there's argument on both sides, just like there usually is on any kind of debate point. Yes, there's points and arguments on both sides. Let's not miss the whole picture here. And let's not all of a sudden we're just, 2014, 15 got a lot of producers in kind of the bind that it's right now. You can blame it on everything that there is out there, but like I always say, it doesn't matter to the guy that you have to answer to, which is the bank or the second account or whatever. Excuses are like what they say they are. It's black and white when it comes to that kind of deal. And we've had to do our own company, no matter who you are, how long you've been around, how big you are. You have to look yourself in the mirror sometimes and know that you need change because the systems and the market are changing. So if you're going to survive, there's only so much control. You can't control the market. You just can't do it.
Well, and every time you do try to control the market, what you end up doing is you ask the federal government or the state government or somebody along those lines to step in and, as they say, level the playing field. And I get the argument. I get the point you're trying to make because it's hard to make a go at it on your own. But what people fail to realize or they just choose to ignore is those Packers got quite a little bit of money behind them, and so when you go trying to take the federal government and use it against the packing industry, well, just know that there's a lot of packing industry guys up on Capitol Hill with a lot deeper pockets than we got, and so when you're asking the government to step in and create a mandate or make a law. And, it might work for a little bit, but as soon as the balance of power swings, as it always does in Washington, well, it never really swings. It swings from different parties, but they're all one and the same, aside from a few certain characters, Trump being one of them. So there's a few independent-minded folks up there, but for the most part, they all follow the money. And at the end of the day, money is power. So whoever can provide those representatives of ours the most money, the biggest check to their campaign coffers, that's who's going to get the most attention. And I guarantee you, Tyson and National and JBS have a hell of a lot more money than Diamond Peak Cattle or RKF USA or U.S. Cattlemen's, whatever the case may be. And I just, I look at that when you're asking the government to step in, and maybe this is me just being the crazy libertarian asshole. You're playing with fire, and you're gonna get burned. And I think the way I see it is the market is shifting towards the millennial consumer, and that's not just the way I see it. That's just a fact of the matter. The millennial is becoming the majority of the market share, and they want to know where their cattle come from. So that plays into the cool narrative. But it's the millennial is who you're going to have to market to, and I think we've got a lot of old heads in the industry that are way too stuck in their ways to try and change to a more online-based marketing and a more farm-to-table approach. And people are just so used to weaning their calves, shipping to the sale barn, or selling them on a video auction, and then just gearing up for another calving season. And I think people are going to have to start taking an alternative path if they really want to get this live cattle price where they think it ought to be. You're going to have to take some of that marketing into your own hands.
Well, my thing is, why does it have to be where you think it ought to be? What I mean is, I can, as a buy-sell guy or a guy, the cheaper prices are almost better because you're taking risk. And people all have this certain price in mind, but there's all the time through the process of this calf's life from the time he's born. And if you just want to sell calves, and I think that program still works, and then you get in these other programs, and actually what you're doing is you're getting in a partnership with this dirty old packer. That's how you're getting the premiums, because the packer wants good cattle too, right? So people who sell their calves off the cow or wherever, and they do that repetitively the same time, and they stay consistent, those are the people that you see, especially in the cow-calf, maintain throughout, because they control their bottom line. They produce a product cheap. And it's been like that since my grandparents came over. You know what I mean? And I didn't see any government intervention. Still like that. But if people want to do to press to get more prices, stay invested in your genetics through there. Definitely don't fight things like vaccine protocols. You know what I mean? Don't fight the consumer wanting this. How long has it been? I did, like I said this in one episode, but I did a project in Travis Hawkins' class, who's now up at NDSU, about I think it was called the Green Revolution, okay? And I started it with a picture of Cheech and Chong and a big old water pipe. And that's just because that was fun. But the main point of the thing is these are our customers, right? And I think I ended it with a nice picture of a beach with maybe some nice looking laid out. Because I circled them, I said, those are our customers. Back then we were 21. They were probably 21 in that picture too. Mamas now. Okay? And that's what that thing has been more enforced. So why do we continue to fight? Instead of, we're trying to fight the government to tell us to do more for us, instead of doing more for ourselves and just paying attention to the consumer, trying to get it what we want,
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And, we've talked at pretty good length here, and I think there's one fight that we can, just about every independent producer, everybody on the feeding and stocker cow-calf side can agree with, just about. I won't say everybody, because that's never the case. You can't lump the whole bunch into one group. But by and large, we can agree on that the checkoff program is basically, it sucks. I mean, to put it bluntly, the whole thing is sucked. We're required to pay into it, and we have no idea where that money goes. And by and large, everybody says the state associations do a pretty damn good job of marketing beef. And then you get up to the national level, and you've got NCBA sitting on the same board as the World Wildlife Foundation, and you got NCBA saying, well, they are not a member, we don't take money from them, or whatever the case may be. And it just it looks a little fishy. And and typically when something stinks, it's probably because there's something stinky going on. So I don't trust NCBA as far as I can throw them, and I think this whole checkoff program, I think it ought to be just repealed completely. Let people use that dollar per head off their cattle, use it to educate their own. And I caught a little bit of flack for it because I don't have any skin in the game, they say, even though I make my living taking care of cattle. I don't own any of my own, but this whole thing affects me as well, and especially as an aspiring rancher. I will do everything in my power to never pay a checkoff dollar. I will use that money to promote other people that I think are actually doing some good. Folks like myself that have a bigger audience that are promoting the cattle industry, the beef industry on their own, and most of it being through social media. And I've kind of pounded that point home, but that's the way the world's going, and social media is not going anywhere, folks. It's here to stay. So we can either jump on board and use it to our advantage, or you can use it to bitch back and forth about the packers and the different trade organizations and just dissect the minutia of the whole situation. But if you're already using Facebook, Twitter, Instagram to bitch about it, why not use it to promote yourself? Is my thought. And that's what I asked NCBA, John Robertson, what they are doing to promote guys like that, independent folks that are doing this promotion, education, research that the checkoff is supposed to be used for. They're doing it on their own accord. Why not throw some of those checkoff dollars that they have to pay into it anyways? Why not throw some back their way, help them out? Maybe they're already making the post, but maybe they can put $50 behind that post and promote it and get more eyes on the product. And and I didn't get a good answer from that either. And so I think the fight where we can really come together is that checkoff program. And like I said, I will not pay any checkoff dollars if I can help it. And to put my money where my mouth is, I looked up and it costs for a first-year member of RCAF, it's $50. And NCBA membership is $150. So $200 a year if I was to join both associations. I will not do that, but I will take $200 out of my pocket, and I'm going to send some money to people that I think are doing a great job promoting the industry. One of them being Montana ranch wife, Annabelle. Congratulations, you're getting $50. Kate Bowen out of Vermont, you're getting $50, and then I'm going to donate $50 each to the local 4-H and local FFA. It's not much in the grand scheme of things, but that's what I can do. And I'm not going to tell anybody to quit paying the checkoff dollar because I don't want you to get in trouble, but that's a fight I'm willing to take on. I think it's wrong. It's a tax. And I think taxation's wrong. So that's where I stand on it. And maybe people can get behind that, maybe not. I don't know, but that's where I stand. I'm going to just take matters into my own hands.
Oh yeah, like I said, that's those people you're talking about are making a great impact in the industry throughout their own, marketing their own stuff, and it just looks good as a whole industry. And when we talk about the checkoff, and let's just talk about, I think what people might hit home the most people as to what is happening with this money. And don't get me wrong, I've been up on the hill. I went with NCBA. I've been an NCBA member. go to the Young Cattlemen's Convention, been to the conferences, a lot of them. And, made a lot of good friends there, made a lot of good contacts, okay? But like 15 years ago, I remember seeing billboards of beef, it's what's for dinner.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that sounds simple, but there are billboards around Denver. You know what they do now? They come into the sale barn and give out a bunch of garb, beef, it's what's for dinner, all that stuff. Well, these are the people who already sold on beef. Yeah. I mean, to put it simply, that $1 per head was used to market beef, right? Now it seems like it's it's putting more money into lobbyists, because that's how the machine that Washington developed and the cattle industry, the cattle NCBA fell right into it. Just a big old lobbying machine. Well, I haven't seen a beef, it's what's for dinner on 55 Country, our local station. I used to always hear Sam Elliott, Matthew McConaughey, something, man. And that's simple. I know that's simple, but I think that's going to resonate most with people as to what is really going on here. And then you use your social media platform. I can turn it on and go live right now. You can turn on this podcast. People can listen to it whenever they want. We can put on Twitter. We can put on Snapchat. We can put on Instagram. I'm not the best at this. I'll be the first to admit I need to do more of it. But it's all at our disposal. And so when you mix that in, don't you think at some point if that debate's going to come, even if it's planting the seed, because like you said, it's a tax, but we need at least some accountability of what this is doing.
Yeah, right? I agree. And the thing is, a lot of folks, I think they realize it. I just don't. I think they just refuse to use it. But it costs exactly $0 to market yourself on social media. $0.
Yeah.
If I mean, all it takes is an internet connection and a computer or a phone. If you've already got that, which just about everybody does, so you don't have to spend any extra money to market yourself. It takes a little bit of time, it takes a lot of creativity, and it takes a little bit of research to figure out where to put this stuff to where it's going to see the most, where the most eyes are going to see it, the most ears are going to hear it. But it takes zero money to market yourself. Now, that going back to the checkoff program, if they can send some money, say if NCBA, Beef Council, RCAF, whoever the case may be, if they want to be a sponsor of the show, come right on. I'm not going to join their association, most likely. I think I'm just going to stay a free agent. But if they want to plug on this show, I'll be happy to do it. It'll reach more people than I won't say it'll reach more people, but it might reach some people that they won't ever reach before, and it'll do it in a different way. But a different way is how it's going to have to be, because the way a lot of folks are seeing right now, the way that has always worked, not really working right now. So you either have to change with the times or you get left behind.
Well, let's say sometimes we want change and all this change. But just like what I talked about, sometimes you might want to go back to your roots. Yeah, and that might be what a bunch of this battle is. Go back to your roots. Let the American people quit trying to impress upon Washington what our product is. Do back what we did back when I remember going to Denver in the back of a Suburban when I was 8 years old, and it was a big trip. You know what I mean? And you'd feel so happy because beef is what's for dinner, and you're a cattle producer, and you're seeing that. I remember feeling that proud as an 8-year-old kid. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
To be a beef producer, not to be hiding behind a cloak that they want us to hide behind like we're some bad people. No. We need to continue to promote who we really are. And that's why the wheels have come off the bus. Like I said, RCAF is kind of on one side. I know people in RCAF, and I respect them, and there's some good producers. I do not follow the RCAF deal as a whole. I don't know their mission. I mean, I'm not part of that. I think that's more like whining. But like NCBA has gone totally the other side. So it's like, come on, bring it back to a little bit normal. Bring some pride into being a beef producer. Be able to show it out in some of these bigger. Put beef, it's what's for dinner in New York. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, put it in all those what's that, Times Square.
Yeah. Take it to the hippies in San Francisco.
Yeah, let's go. Don't drop it off at the sale barns. Yeah. People who come to the sale barns already eat meat, probably 4 or 5 times the actual average.
Yeah.
I mean,
you know
we're
what?
Promoting it there. You
know what you can do is take out some ad space on Joe Rogan. He's the biggest podcast on earth. And every single episode, he gets more viewers than like the top 4 cable news spots combined. Every single time he drops an episode.
And he's a good, open-minded guy. I mean, you might not agree with and I'm not saying all of his things, and I'm not saying I do, but I agree with how he approaches the stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, exactly. And it's probably going to cost you a little bit of money, but, it's probably worth it.
We feel like that's what our dollar per head can compile to make a big push to buy that. That's what we want. We're not wanting to buy a bunch of lobbyists.
Exactly.
In my opinion, I say we, but I mean, God,
Yeah, I think so. But in my opinion, over the last couple months, Joe Rogan did more to combat this environmental impact of meat production in 30 seconds than RCAF, NCBA, Beef Checkoff, U.S. Cattlemen's. In 30 seconds, he did more to combat this climate change issue on the meat production side than all of them combined have in the last year. And all he simply said was, of all greenhouse gas emissions, agriculture makes up about 9%. Of that 9%, meat production makes up about half of it. And of that, beef production makes up about half of it. So of all greenhouse gas emissions, beef production makes up about 2.5% of it. So you're barking up the wrong tree on the environmental impact if you want to get rid of beef production. And it was about that length of a statement. And I retweeted a clip of it on Twitter, and I think it'd been retweeted tens of thousands of times. And every episode, he gets about between 10 and 20 million viewers and listeners. That 30-second clip did more than all those guys combined throwing a bunch of shit at each other did to help the industry. I mean, and he wasn't even trying to. He was just stating the fact. So use stuff like that. Beef USA, RCAF, Beef Council. Take that clip, share it around, because people will watch it. He's a little bit popular.
And he started more like even that Beyond That stock, it's having trouble because you know what? The fake meat is getting more pushback right now. And it could be just right from him from stating that. And people open their eyes and realize, and then we realize people are actually rational. I mean, sometimes I think we dream this shit up and just then we're afraid to approach the situation and communicate about it to find out, we're actually a lot closer than we decided we were before. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's the thing is, I always say if you talk to people, you find out you have a lot more in common than you realize. But I think one of the big problems is we got so polarized because of politics. And don't get me wrong, I'm a political junkie. Anybody that knows me knows that. I mean, it's just something it's like a bloody train wreck. I don't particularly want to watch it, but I can't turn my head away. And it's just something I get almost obsessed with it at times. And but it just people are almost afraid to agree with the other side on anything. And well, man, if you agree with somebody on something, let them know. I'm like, all right, well, I think you're an idiot on economics or whatever, but I can agree with you on this issue. And that makes anything like that makes a huge difference in the overall conversation. And man,
well, I think people are scared to do it because it's scary to take on somebody with opposite views, because what if they're smarter than you, or what if they have this? You know, do you really, is it then you have to ask yourself, is it just emotion and pride, or is it a legit thing that I'm going after? And if it's legit, then you go in there and you know where you stand principally. That doesn't mean that you can't bend during negotiation. But I think most people have a trouble because they don't know where they stand principally, or they're afraid to lose, and it's a quote unquote lose. There's no loss if both sides. It's a two-way game. You know what I mean? Negotiation done right is a two-way game.
That's exactly right. And you know, I'm a firm believer that sometimes no deal is better than a bad deal.
Me too. Me too.
But at the same time, you can still be principled and not waver on your principles and still make a deal. You know, if you may not get everything you want, but if it's moving in the right direction, that's still a deal worth taking. And so I just this all or nothing approach, very rarely does it work. Very rarely. And you look at the progressives of the world. They didn't get the power they have now by taking it all at once. It was an inch by inch approach, and you know, the folks on the other side, myself included, you know, for years and years it's been an all or nothing deal. Well, then what happens is you lose power, and the other side takes another inch. Next thing you know, they're a mile ahead of where they were when we started this whole deal. And because you know, we take an all or nothing approach, and that's, you know, it's not the way to do things.
Haven't you ever seen Any Given Sunday? Any Given Sunday with Al Pacino, inch by fucking inch.
Yeah,
that's how you got to fight in these deals. Yeah, honestly, sometimes it is inch by inch, and be happy with it.
Yep. And, you know, and there's sometimes you're going to have to take it on the chin, but if you can set yourself up to bounce back better, you know, and sometimes that means you just got to pick your fights. I don't know. It's just the way we did it, and I say we because I was involved in it. I tried my best to represent myself, and you know, the producers I looked up to, I represented them how I thought they'd want to be represented in this whole argument, but nobody won. I can guarantee you that. Everybody looked like a bunch of shitheads in the public's eye, and they're not wrong. That's the thing, is the public is not wrong on that point.
And maybe we'll look back on it, and it'll be something that sometimes you need a shake-up, right? Sometimes it is ugly. Sometimes you need a shake-up to let people start talking about this stuff and know it's okay. You know, to not harbor. It's okay to voice your opinion, even if it may not match your next door neighbor or the guy sitting next to you. Maybe so, you know, like looking at it glass half full, like I sometimes tend to do, maybe too much. But, you know, sometimes a shake-up is good. And then let's get back to the roots, and then the whole point of it, like of me being on with you and all this stuff is to, the whole point is to just make sure people trust back in themselves, even though it's a hard market and everything's been going bad. Well, the only person that can really save you is yourself. I mean, you can fight for these other things. That's bigger picture. But coming right down the pipe is some more calves to feed or whatever. And if you don't pull your boots on and go do it, well, then you're damn sure going to lose, you know?
Yep, that's exactly right. And, you know, at the end of the day, you've got to stop relying on organizations like NCBA and RCAF to do your fighting for you. I mean, if they want to fight, they want to join the fight, so be it. But you got to take matters into your own hands. Take care of your own house, and the rest of it will fall in line.
Look, in my opinion, we have no other better market than to be in the U.S. We have a lot of ways you can protect your risk, okay? And I know people have got a bad taste in their mouth from the futures and the boys in Chicago. Let me tell you, they're the biggest asset that we have are the speculators and futures. And those guys putting liquidity in our markets and the ability to concentrate on basis and to market through basis while you're protecting some of your equity while you're growing these cattle is way better than any other country in the world. You know what I mean? There's producers that had a chance to sell their feeders at 165 last year. You know what I mean? The spring on the future board. You know what I mean? You pull off 40 cents on that thing as a hedge, and you're not whining at all. You really don't care about what's happening in the government because you use the price to help you mitigate risk. And it's another market for you at that point because there's always going to be a president, and there's always going to be Congress, and there's always going to be a fight, and there's always going to be a cattle market that moves up and down. So how you choose to ride it is your choice, and there's a million different ways to skin the cat. That's the cool part about being a cat producer.
That's right. And then, Corbett Wall said it really well when he spoke at that rally in Omaha, which I'm just not going to even. I'm not even going to mess with that whole mess. I think Corbett gave a hell of a speech, and other than that, I could piss on the rest of it. I don't even care. But he said, there's, and he's a big believer in the collusion between the Packers, which I think is happening too. But I think until you got enough money to lobby against the Packers and their lobbyists, you're going to have to come at it from a different approach. And what he was saying is quit being idiots. Everybody wants to calve in the winter, and understandably, I get why, but and then come October when everybody's pulling calves off the mama, it floods the market, drives the price down. That's supply and demand right there. And more producers can move to a fall calving season. That'll help stabilize the market. It'll help. It's still going to be volatile, but you're not going to have the highest of highs, and you're not going to have the lowest of lows anymore. And it just provides a more stable market.
Well, the thing is, some people environmentally can't do that, or it's hard to make. It is a hard and a big adjustment to make that trend, just how your cows are and how everything programmed. But you can do that. But let's even talk about the other, and the collusion with the Packers. I can't get on board with that, although it's probably, who knows what the hell it is. But it's way too, for me, I don't think that. I just handle. I mean, the thing that people have on their side the most, if you're going to call me crazy, is the future board, okay, and how they control basis, and not to look at it as gambling. You're protecting risk. As your calves, your price is on your balance sheet. You know what I mean? So you're protecting that month to month. And you can't change your production around. You don't want to change the risk. There is always risk to carry cattle. That's the risk. And how do you mitigate that risk? Well, we have speculators that are willing to take on that risk that you lay off. And that's why it's a beautiful thing. So it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. Like, quit fighting the government. Get you a book. Learn how the market works. Get your break-evens laid down. Learn how your regional basis is. Get with a broker. Open an account and start hedging.
Yeah, exactly. It's and I guarantee you, all these guys that are bitching about it, or a good portion of them already do hedge, and maybe just do it better. I don't know. I guess. My big deal, as I said, is we just need to do better, and the whole deal. I mean, it might have done some good in the long term, but I guarantee you we'd have done a lot more good if we could have had a discussion rather than just a drop down, knock down, drag out fight. And just do better. That's the thing, is that just do better. Be the best to do the best that you can do, and let everything else work itself out. Control what you can, and not worry so much about the shit that you can't control. And you can't control government. That's the thing.
Well, see, just on a lighter note, let's just look at the market, how it closed today. Around 112. I don't know what they'll settle it out. I haven't got to settle it, but these cattle's at 112.15. They're bidding 105 in the cash. Down in Texas, 106 in Kansas. Packers haven't inquired much in western Nebraska. Right? So the market's back to pre-fire level. Okay. The margins are all going to get adjusted out and the dust is settled. And, what are we going to do? Well, cattle usually rally to the spring. And now in the next 70 to 90 days, you need to look to cover your risk of any people that are going to finish in the summer. You know what I mean? And, it's been like this about every over the last 30 years, Finley, And so look at the market has done some beautiful recovering from 96 this beef to 112.15. Okay. And then we have this corn market would go on a big rally today off the bad dip that it took yesterday, down 15 yesterday, back up 15, 394 on the corn, $4 on corn. Looking like these commodities want to kind of move higher. But like I say, give yourself ready, because in the next 90 days, you might be wanting to take some bids on your next year's inventory, or 120 days. So the cool part is this thing trades 5 days a week. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And you can sell cattle on it from pretty much 7:30 Mountain Time to 12:05.
Yep.
And then
you can use it to your own advantage.
That's what I like about it. And there's so many cool things that we do in the cattle industry now that we need to focus on. You know what I mean? So, so much. Our genetics are taking leaps and bounds. Genomics are badass. I mean, things that go into data collections and analytics.
All the genetic stuff is just truly amazing. What we've been able to do to put more pounds on an animal and on a carcass. That besides putting pounds on an animal, but put more pounds on a hanging carcass with and produce more beef with fewer number of cattle is truly amazing. And,
exactly.
And you know what? That was a market driven deal, because people like how we raise our beef here. It's the safest in the world. It's the most flavorful in the world, and people tend to like it because it's badass. Basically, it fucking rocks. That's the beef. It fucking rocks.
How about okay, the choice select spread like a 20 some bucks right now, 23, maybe up to 31. That's why we're making cattle like the good cattle are bringing back the premium. People need to continue to pay that choice select spread and continue to build genetics to go for that, especially on the producer side. Because as a cattle feeder, if we're getting a premium, I don't care what politics are involved, we're going to want your calves again. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly right. So I like I said, it's just make sure you got the best product. The way the people a business grows is when they have the best possible product for the lowest possible price. That's where people are going to go. They vote with their dollars.
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah, exactly. I'm just watching this corn settle, and it's up 18 now. Just took a 4-cent jump. I mean, don't, and then people need not to be afraid. If corn goes up, it's kind of more bullish for cattle. We'll keep these weights moderated, you know what I mean? A little more commodity. We'll see what happens. We could be just in a range, go up to 410, 420 and kind of pull back off, and we'll see. But these cattle are looking poised to just keep a little bit through here, and we want a nice steady rally. And then we'll do a podcast 4 months from now, and then I bet everybody will still kind of be around, and who knows what we'll be talking about then. We're going to every week, but I'm just saying in our future podcast, it'll be a whole other, you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
A whole other set of circumstances.
Yeah. Well, man, it's like I said, it's good to hear some optimism and after this whole last couple of weeks, you know, it kind of drains a fella if you get too deep into that shit. And you know, it's there's some stuff I'm gonna cover in the future that's gonna be pretty heavy, and I you know, I'm looking forward to talking about it. I'm not necessarily all that looking forward that much to the research, just because it's kind of depressing at times, and you know, it's just I like to hear some optimism, because I started this whole thing because I love cowboy culture. I love the ranch lifestyle. I love working with cattle. I love riding horses, and there's a certain amount of there's a certain amount of satisfaction and accomplishment when you can take just a ranked fucking 3-year-old that all they want to do is go run wild on grass, and you want to turn them into a working horse, and they're fighting against you, and you got to find a way to make that work for you. When you get that sucker coming around where they're watching a cow and they're wanting to work for you, man, you talk about a sense of accomplishment, and that is kind of how I sum up our line of work as a whole. Is just we are dealing with a bunch of dumb animals that we are trying to bend to our will, and they outweigh us. They're a hell of a lot stronger than us, and a lot of times they're a hell of a lot more stubborn than we are. But you got to find a way to work around it, and when you can do that, man, it sure feels good. And that's why I love this line of work that we do. And I think we need to focus more on that and less on internal squabbles.
Yeah, and since when was our line of work the kind that brought us into glamorous hotel rooms in New York City on a monthly basis? Or, you know, like, we do this kind not because we get rich doing it. I'm not saying that we're not wealthy if you have land, because you are, but it doesn't matter until you sell it. So you don't have a bunch of cash. You don't get the greatest vacations all the time. Your body kind of gets beat up. But if you can get by and make a living, and you're not standing in a cubicle doing the same thing, the next guy down the road has the same struggles, bro. It's no different. If he's a fucking dentist, or if he works at a convenience store, or if he's a farmer, everybody's trying to make ends meet. Or if he's a rancher. So how do you want to spend your days? That's what you got to ask yourself.
I think you're right. So, man, it's been good talking to you. Like always.
You too, buddy.
Well, where can everybody find you? Where can they get a hold of you if they want to market their cattle at Loma Livestock?
Hey, go to LomaLivestock.com. Also, I'm going to put my number out on here. You call me on 2 different numbers. That's 970-326-8621 or 970-629-8092. But also look up on LomaLivestock.com. It should have everything there. You can go up to, it's all mobile optimized. So you can go in and check on the consignment list and the upcoming sales, and we would just love to have everybody buy.
Perfect, man. Well, on that note,
thanks,
yeah, you bet. Why don't you sign us off?
We better get our asses moving. We're burning daylight.
Awesome, man. Well, until next time, we're going to call it. Thank you, man.
Bart, I appreciate it. See you later.
See ya.
Hot coffee is waiting, he's contemplating moving to a country where the mercury don't drop. Looks forward to summer, why he don't leave, he wonders. He must love this life or he's too dumb to stop. His spurs they're jingling, his toes they're tingling, frosty breath rises like warm chimney smoke. He's calving cows on stormy nights, he's been riding since daylight. Trots for the house, but he'd sure like to load. They call it a country where a cowboy is king, where a peaceful day's ride is easy on your mind. He wonders if he can hold out one more frigid shirk any task would be a blow to his pride. But the winters seem colder, each year he grows older, making him as bitter as the wind outside. They call it a country where a cowboy is king, where a peaceful day's ride is easy on your mind. He wonders if he can hold out for one more frigid, high, lonesome winter time. Old wounds that once mended, the pain he thought ended, return each season with the coming of the storm. And old flames he had kindled, he once thought long dwindled, return late at night, but no longer are warm. They call it a country where a cowboy is king, and a peaceful day's ride is easy on your mind.